Hey guys, Stephen Cox here, and welcome to part 3 of my bass ukulele course. If you like videos like these, please consider becoming a patron where you can get the PDF version of this course along with other lessons. Last time we were learning how to hold the bass ukulele, so now we're ready to play some notes. Today we're going to be focusing on right hand and left hand technique, where we'll be plucking and fretting the notes. So first, we're going to be focusing with our plucking hand. Since I'm right-handed, this is my right hand. And what we're going to do is we're going to have our hands basically in that position from where we were holding the bass ukulele. And we're just going to pluck with our index finger for now, upwards through the strings. So it's kind of like that motion where you're bringing your finger up through the string. It's not outward, it's up. So what I like to do is find a place for my thumb. Sometimes I'll just rest it against the side of the body, and then I'll just pluck upwards through the string. First, let's talk about what these strings are. The thickest string is the E string. Then we have the A string, the next thinnest, is the D string after that. And then the G string is the thinnest string. So E, A, D, G. So let's pluck the E string now. So all I did there was I pulled my finger upward through the note, just kind of up like that. And I was kind of anchoring my thumb on the body once again. I'm still keeping my wrist fairly straight as I'm playing. And right now, even though we're about to alternate like that, we're just using one finger for now. So play the E string, then move on to the A string and pluck through that string. When you pluck through the A string, notice that your finger can kind of just go through and then it'll rest on the E string. This is kind of a way to build in some muting techniques so that strings don't ring out, but we can talk more about that in the future. For now, just pluck through the A string and hopefully it'll just stop on the E string and the A string will ring out. What I want to say real quick is with your left hand, make sure you're not touching the strings, because if you touch the strings, the note won't ring out. So just make sure your left hand is out of the way. You can have your thumb on the back and have your left hand just kind of hovering in front of the fretboard. Okay, so let's move on to the D string and pluck the D string now. And now we're going to pluck the thinnest string, the G string. All right, so now that you've plucked all the strings, try doing them out of order. G string, A string, D string, E string. Just whatever order you want to try, but try naming the strings as you go so that you're memorizing those as well. So now we're going to add our middle finger to this. We're going to pluck with the index finger and then the middle finger as well. So right now, just go to the E string and pluck with the index finger and then the middle finger. Then move to the A string and do the same thing. Pluck with the index finger and then the middle finger. Now, when I move to the A string, my thumb kind of rests on the E string. Yours doesn't have to. You can leave it up here if you'd like, where it's just resting against the body. And some people like having a thumb rest. If that's not comfortable for you, you could also anchor it on the top of the fretboard over here. But it changes the tone, whether you're playing over the neck over here or over closer to the bridge. You're going to have a different tone, so just know that as you go. But you can anchor your thumb here and play the different strings, or you can have it resting up against the body. So let's go back to alternating. So first the E string, index, middle, then move to the A string, index, middle on the A string. Now I'll go to the D string, index, middle, and then the G string, index, middle. So now that you can do that, let's try playing them back to back a little bit. So that means evenly spacing out our plucks. 1, 2, 3, 4. E string, A string, D string, G string. So we're just getting used to plucking in time now. So that's the basic idea with plucking. We'll talk more about this in future exercises coming up. But for now, we're going to move on to fretting. Frets are these little pieces of metal that are going vertical along here. And the reason for them is basically we're going to push down on the string in between the frets, or in this case in between the nut and the first fret. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold down that note and then pluck like normal with our right hand. So right now I'm plucking the G string and I'm holding the G string down between the nut and the first fret. So I'm not right over the piece of metal. I'm literally in between that little space created either by the frets or by the nut and the first fret. So we call this playing the first fret because what we're essentially doing is shortening the part of the string that vibrates from here to the first fret by holding it down back here. Okay, so when we do this, we want to hold the string down there the whole time that we want the note to play. So your left hand will continue to hold while you pluck and while you're wanting the note to ring out. Because if you let go, it stops ringing out. So right now, if I let the pressure up on my left hand, it stops. Whereas if I keep it down, it rings out. So you just want to make sure that if you want the note to ring out, that you want to hold it down that whole time you want it to ring out. And then as soon as you're ready to move on to another note, you can let up the pressure. So here's the thing. You have to push down a little bit hard on the metal strings, but on the polyurethane strings, it's a little bit easier to push down. You don't need much pressure at all, but you do need enough pressure to not get a buzz sound, because if you push down too lightly, you might get that buzz kind of sound. So my suggestion there is when you're in between the space between either of the frets, so either like the first fret and the second fret right here, or in this case what we were between the nut and the first fret right here pushing down. I like to push down either in the very middle of that space or slightly closer to the fret I'm trying to shorten the string to. So either the middle or here, not back far there. Then you don't have to push down quite as hard. And then the other secret is don't squeeze with the hand, kind of pull the note in using your arm. You can squeeze a tiny bit, but you don't want to put a lot of pressure on it that way because that'll wear your hand out if we're playing songs. Okay, so now that we know how to fret a note, let's do this one. This is the first fret on the G string. So that's that little space between the nut and the first fret. We call that playing the first fret. And we'll hold that down and we'll pluck the G string with our right hand. It's very important to pluck the same string that you're holding down, otherwise you'll be playing a different note. Basically, the numbers, by the way, go from the nut to the body. So if I'm saying the first fret, I'm saying the first fret's down here, the second fret's here, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and the last one is the 16th on most bass ukuleles. So I'm going to play those notes just so you get the idea. Once again, I'm playing in between the space made by the frets. So first fret G string, second fret G string, third fret G string, fourth fret G string, fifth fret, sixth fret, seventh fret, eighth fret, ninth fret. You get the idea. So now you don't have to only play on the G string. You can push down notes on different strings. So let's try doing some other notes. Let's try playing the D string at the 6th fret. So we're going to count up those spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold the string down there in between those two pieces of metal, and then we're going to pluck the D string since that's the one we're holding down. If you don't remember, we have the E string, A string, D string, and G string. So let's pluck the D string while holding that note down. Now let's try the 4th fret on the A string. So first we find our string, E string, A string. So we're using this string. Now we're going to find the 4th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the 4th fret on the A string. And so now that you know how to find these notes and play them, I want you to find them for yourselves. So just name a number between 1 and 16, and then name a string that you want to play it on. Find that note and play it. I'll give one more example just for fun. The 7th fret on the D string. 7th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the D string. Okay? And the other thing to remember is just that you can pluck. You could practice plucking multiple notes on those. So let's go back to that 7th fret on the D string. And why don't I play index, middle with the right hand when I'm plucking? And notice I'm holding that note down the entire time that I'm plucking. So just try different variations of that where you're holding down certain frets and plucking the string different number of times, because that's how we'll eventually play songs. And one more thing that I'd like to mention about the frets, it's kind of a lot to be counting up from 1 all the way every time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like if you're playing the 9th fret. So we actually have these little dots on the fretboard. Do you see this one right here? There's a little dot actually on the board itself. So those dots happen at the 3rd fret, the 5th fret, the 7th fret, the 9th fret, and then there's a double dot at the 12th fret. 1, 2. And that way we can count from those markers rather than just counting all the way up every single time. So that's a good way to find your place on the bass a little bit easier. Alright guys, now that we know how to fret and pluck notes, the next lesson will be on tuning our bass ukulele so that we can finally play some songs and exercises after that. So please stay tuned for that. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and that you're enjoying this course. And become a patron if you'd like the PDF printable copy of the course. And I will see you next time for part 4.